Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph LaBella.
And I'm Ron Sen. And we almost have all four major sports playing now. Basketball is starting up. But the Bruins opened at Washington. And once again, the Capitals are kryptonite for the Bruins. It was a tremendous pregame championship ceremony for the Capitals. It was really awesome the way they raised the banner and had a great picture of the team in front. And then the Capitals came out and scored 2 goals in the first 2 minutes, and the Bruins might as well have just left on the plane after that.
Well, at least they bounced back. They had a real good game against Buffalo, and then they beat Ottawa and played strong Bergeron and got the hat trick. So they're gonna have one of the top best records in hockey.
And it'll be interesting to see if Halleck will take some minutes away from Rask. He's a very competitive goalie, I think from Slovakia. And so it'll be interesting to see where the Bruins are a couple months from now. Kind of amazing story is Alabama Crimson Tide and Tagovailoa. He has had over 75% pass completions this year, is averaging 14.8 yards per pass, and has 18 touchdown passes with no interceptions. I mean, every time he throws the ball deep, it's a touchdown practically. It's phenomenal.
Well, you know he's going after this year. He's not going to stick around.
Is that the word?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. And, even if they win a national championship, which is going to be tough because their defense isn't that great. Defense is probably the weakest it's been in the last 5 years. So are they going to get better? Because they're going to go up against defenses that are going to be tough. They played Georgia in that championship game.
Right.
If they play Georgia, they're going to play Auburn. If they're not scoring upwards of 30 or 40 points, then they're going to have a tough time.
It seems like right now they're scoring in the 50s and 60s every week.
Yeah.
And that's with Tagovailoa playing half the game. It's incredible.
The funny thing is, he's going to go, and then
his little brother's a senior, and they're from Hawaii, obviously.
No, but with the quarterback from last year, I forget his name.
Hurt.
He'll be the quarterback next
Hurts,
year.
Yeah.
They've already talked about that.
Yeah, the little brother is playing high school football in Alabama, setting all kinds of records, I guess, as a senior, and he's committed to go to Alabama. So
he's living in Alabama?
Yeah.
So they moved from Hawaii?
The family moved to Alabama.
Wow.
So no money exchanged hands there, though.
Maybe that's why Hurt didn't redshirt this year, so he'd have 2 years left.
An interesting story in the NFL is the non-participation of Le'Veon Bell for the Steelers. He's going to come back in Week 8. He didn't get the contract he wanted, which I can understand, because you look at on the other side of the coin, Earl Thomas, the safety from Seattle, didn't participate in preseason. He didn't get the contract he wanted. Then he got hurt, and he's out for the season. So players want and need that security because the injury rate is so high. So it's understandable why they're not happy, and the owners have the upper hand, obviously.
Yeah, and they're not happy with Bell in Pittsburgh, that's for sure. The fans and the players. Everybody's unhappy with him. Is it after 7 games or after 8?
He's coming back, I think week 8. But I think you can come back up to week 10. But obviously he's getting paid on a prorated basis. Now we're in postseason baseball. What I thought was interesting last night was Ron Darling, the analyst, complaining about the Red Sox stealing a base up 10-1, and I think. Was it Benintendi who swung 3-0?
Benintendi stole the base, too.
To me, the Red Sox, their bullpen is so shaky that they need to get as many runs as they can. So as far as I'm concerned, this business about, you're not showing up the other team. Well, the Yankees are still up there trying to hit home runs. The Yankees are still trying to come back. So I don't see why the Red Sox should stop playing just because they have a lead. It's just if the Yankees go up 10-0, I expect them to still try to hit home runs tonight.
I've never liked those rules, hidden rules. You're playing a game of baseball, play it. When I coached Babe Ruth, they used to get upset at me sometimes when I used to have kids steal bases, up 5-1 and 6-1. It's ridiculous.
I played in a summer league game many, many years ago over at Lexington on a hot Sunday afternoon, and we were ahead 14-2 going to the bottom of the 6th. And the coach decided to take out the starters and put in reserves, and Lexington scored 17 runs in the 6th inning, and we lost. So So no lead is safe as far as I'm concerned.
Right, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan. I've always thought, it's not over until it's over.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't get upset at that. It's the Yankees. It was the Yankees' problem.
Well, in Game 1, when the Red Sox were ahead 5-3, all I could think of was the 1986 World Series when the Red Sox were up 5-3 in the ninth inning, and the Calvin Schiraldi debacle. And I guess if you're a Red Sox fan, you never forget those collapses. But anyway, right now I still think Houston's the best team left. They have a tremendous starting rotation and wonderful lineup. And no matter who comes out of the Red Sox-Yankee series, I think they have uphill sledding against the Astros.
And they're strong in the bullpen now, which they weren't before. They were just average.
Right. They got Osuna from Toronto. So they're a terrific team. The National League, the Brewers are on a roll. Dodgers eliminated the Braves. The Dodgers have a lot of talent, but the Brewers just seem, it makes you wonder whether the Brewers might be the team of destiny this year.
I think it's going to be Houston and Boston. I mean, I'd like to see Sabathia come up with a big game today. I just think that Boone is showing that he's a rookie manager. I mean, yesterday, I think it was the third inning, I said he's got to come out. When Martinez hit that smash to center field, left center, I said, you got to take him out now. They're right on his pitches. His fastball's only 97. He averaged almost 99 the first half of the season. It was flat. He wasn't throwing his curveball or his slider too much. They were on him. When I saw him walk out for the fourth inning, I said, it's time. I'm not staying up for this. I went to bed. I knew exactly what was going to happen. Then I find out they get bases loaded, the Red Sox, and they bring in Lynn.
Lynn, right.
With all the pitches they have, they bring in Lynn with base. Number one, they shouldn't have had Severino in there.
Well, first of all, they brought Lynn in, and he faces bets. He throws 4 pitches. None of them were even close to the strike zone. I mean, it wasn't just horrible. And then Benintendi teed off. The Red Sox got a little bit lucky because it could have been a ground rule double, but it just somehow it hit the railing and stayed in play. But yeah, it was just one of those things. In some ways, if you lose 16-1, in a way it's easy to put that behind. If you lose 3-2 in extra innings, tough loss. 16-1, you just say, well, we'll forget about that.
If you're a competitor at all, if they don't come out sky high tonight, I mean, after that embarrassment yesterday, I mean, they're losers. My feeling was going into this series, the only winner they have in that team basically is Judge.
Yeah, Judge has been tremendous the whole series. He's just what a talent. I mean, the guy was an all-state football player. I think his team won the state championship in basketball. Obviously, as a baseball player, his talent speaks for himself. I mean, he was unlucky to get injured this season, which, nothing you can do about that. But just a marvelous player, great fielder, runs the bases well, does everything well. I mean, as a Red Sox fan, it's easy to root for him because he's such a good player.
But the one thing that Boone has to stay on top of, you got to watch Sabathia. Even when he starts off pretty good, sometimes like around the 4th or 5th inning, he gives up runs, he gets tired. So you got to watch him good. You can't go say, okay, I'm going to give him one more bat. With the bullpen you have, you got to get him in. Look what Cora did the second game, even though the Sox didn't win it. He took Price out right away, and got the bullpen in there. And the Yankees bullpen, they're deeper than the Red Sox. They got 4 closers on that team. He's got to go to them early, even if it's the second inning.
Well, you'd have to figure that Price is in the bullpen, at least obviously for this series. Going forward, hard to know whether he'll get another opportunity if the Red Sox somehow can advance. It's got to be in his head. Now, I know that he's had issues with some kind of nerve damage in his fingers, whether it's related to computer games or something else, who knows. But it seems that the postseason starting role he's just lost it mentally.
Well, if the Red Sox win tonight, then Seal's going to go in the first game. Red Sox win their first game against Houston, I'd pitch Price the second game. If the Red Sox lose that first game against Houston, I'd pitch Eovaldi the second game, and then see where they are. I mean, if they come back, I would say again, if they're ahead in the series, I'd start Price. You never know, especially in Houston.
Yeah.
No, they'll be at home.
I just wouldn't count on there being any carryover from last night's game to tonight. I don't know. I know that they said that a position player had pitched before, and then of course Holt managed to hit for the cycle because he had a home run against Romine, which it's a cycle's kind of a fluky thing. The fact that Holt has done it twice in his career is interesting, but there've been plenty of great players who never sniffed the cycle, and anyway, it was just an interesting thing if a person happened to stay up for the whole game, which
Did you?
I did. I really did. It was really sad.
Thank God. I mean, the best thing that happened, I went to bed at 9-something.
I haven't watched many full baseball games
I was
this
so
season.
disgusted with Boone.
But Kinsler and Nunez are back in. Kinsler hasn't done. Kinsler's a good defensive player, but offensively he hasn't done much this series. Nunez has been pretty much non-factor offensively and a negative factor defensively, but against Sabathia, we'll see. It's always interesting in that postseason baseball, the intensity level is generally a lot higher than during the regular season.
Now, would you pinch hit Holt for Kisner if they took out Sabathia and brought a righty in?
I guess it depends on the score, because, I mean, Kinsler's a really good defensive player.
And what do you think about Holt this year, though? I mean,
well, I think that I'm not a huge Holt person, but that may be unfair in that he had a really long time recovering from his concussion. And you do see people who have leftover problems from concussions, I mean, outside of other sports like football, or was it Mark Savard and the Bruins who had concussion and never came back? So.
You know, my thinking is, I mean, I've always liked Holt. I've always liked him. I've always rooted for him to get the money because he just can play any position, and he's a real team player. But know what I think with him? I really believe he's on something. I really do, because I mean, you look at him now. His arms are bigger. He has forearms. He's bigger upper body, and he's hitting the ball a ton. I mean, he's hitting the ball over 400 feet,
he's hit the
which
ball,
he never did before.
Yeah, I remember he had a pinch hit against Philadelphia during the regular season.
A couple
was
of
just
them.
really crushed.
I mean, he's crushed. I mean, he's hitting the ball unbelievable. And you look at him; he's more stocky than he was. It always reminds me of the kid from Baltimore.
Well, it's interesting in that they keep talking about Pedroia and his contribution and his leadership. I mean, he wasn't around the team for most of the year. He played 3 games. The fact that he's there in the dugout, I don't know that it means a lot one way or the other. But obviously, a guy like Holt has got to say, well, maybe I can take his job next year. And on Pedroia, it's just going to matter about his health. And I mean, to me, if you haven't been able to come back in over a year from a knee operation, I think that's a pretty bad sign.
But you look at that. You look at all baseball. You look at a guy like Holt. I wonder what he makes a year.
$2.5 million.
That's unbelievable.
That's not so bad.
No, the guy should be making about $8 million compared to everybody else. The guys that are making $30, $40 million, he can play every position. They need him. He goes in there. He plays strong ball. I mean, he's had a real good career. I mean, $2.5 million for a guy on the Red Sox who's that talented. I mean, they say that he can't be a full-time player because he'll get tired. What does that mean? If he's playing good most of the season.
Well, the other...
See the play he made?
Yeah, the other interesting point from last night was Angel Hernandez at first base. He had 5 replays at first base. Now, they were really close plays. I mean, these are the kind of plays where it's bang, bang with an inch or 2 from the guy's foot from the base. But he only got 1 out of 5 right. So it does show the value of replay, but also shows how difficult it is for the umpires. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible umpire. Obviously, he got him wrong.
Yeah. How about the one the other day? He got another one wrong. They overruled
well, he's
him.
behind the plate tonight, so the heat's on him. And, I don't know when eventually baseball is going to have the electronic strike zone. I don't know whether it'll be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But
what my thing is, the worst problem in baseball is the outside corner. It's terrible. I mean, Seal the other day against the Yankees. I would say all those pitches on the outside corner, say he had 15 on the outside corner. I would say 10 of them were definitely balls that were called strikes, because his sweeping, to me, it's a curveball. They call it a sink. They call it a slider. But that pitch breaks at least
Around
a foot.
the plate, yeah.
And it comes, and if you see that pitch come, it's coming around the plate, and it ends up in the catcher's glove right in the corner, but it's coming in from that angle. And I'm watching the game, I'm saying, what are they calling?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised the Yankees didn't complain about that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, because the technology, whatever it is, it's always getting better. So there'll probably be some kind of laser strike zone that they use.
They should have it just on the outside corner, because the umpire's got the inside corner locked in.
Do you know what the replay rule is in the postseason? Because it seems like they're replaying everything. It used to be some limited number of replays.
Well, the head umpire can replay anything he wants.
Oh, okay.
So the head umpire can make the decision. Okay, I want to see the replay.
Okay. Well, it takes a lot of pressure off the umpires. Obviously, a few years back, remember Garalaga missed a perfect game because Jim Joyce missed a call at first base.
Yeah.
And
it
wasn't even close. The guy was out by half a step. And, Joyce, felt terrible afterwards because, I mean, obviously, you have the call, you get the replay and you say, wow, I just blew it.
And Galarraga handled it unbelievably.
No, he did.
He was unreal.
Yeah, I think because you don't get that many go-rounds at perfect games. But the other thing about Holt's cycle, changing back, is it's the first cycle ever in postseason play, which...
And he hit the home run off of a relief pitcher.
Right. So, anyway, off position player. But it made for an interesting game. Alex Cora has gotten a lot of credit for the Red Sox success, and I'm sure he deserves some for culture changes and the players being happier without John Farrell. But you need some luck too. So he puts in Holt and Devers and Vasquez last night. They all get 2 hits. So, is it genius, or sometimes you just get a little bit lucky? And today Kevin Cash was rewarded with an extension down in Tampa. Cash has done really well with the Rays, considering they don't have a ton of talent.
No, they have a good team, good young team.
They probably have the Cy Young Award winner in Snell, who I think he won 20 games.
21.
Yeah, so they deserve a lot of credit, and I think they had the best record of the non-playoff teams.
In the second half of the season, they were real good.
Oh, yeah, they were very strong.
They swept the Yankees, and I think they swept the Red Sox, too.
The Orioles gave the Yankees a lot of trouble this year, too, even though they didn't give anybody else any trouble.
Right.
Dan Duquette is out as general manager.
Oh, he's out? He had a pretty good run.
Yeah, supposedly the Angelos family loves Brady Anderson. So it's not official, I don't think, but everyone thinks Anderson's going to be the new GM there. And Buck Showalter, who always seems like a hardhead to me.
They keeping him?
No, he's gone too. So I don't know who the manager is there. Ben Cherington, who I think was the assistant general manager in Toronto, is a candidate in different sites. The Giants have just fired their general manager, so it's possible he'll go out there. So we'll see. We're still in the postseason, but we're already getting into the hot stove league. And of course Bryce Harper. I don't know what his thoughts are.
Well, he's going to be looking for. I don't think he's going to get the $40 million he wanted. That's for sure.
Well, he didn't really hit that great this year.
No, he hit with some power.
Yeah, I mean he's
240 something.
Yeah, and he's hurt a lot too. So
and his reputation isn't great either. So I don't know who's going to give him that money. He better hope he can get $30 million for like 6 or 7 years. Someone will give it to him though. But I don't think he's going to get the 40 that he's already.
Maybe he'll just take he'll settle for $30 million for 1 year and then hope to have a really good year and then cash in.
But no one deserves close to $40 million. Who? Maybe Betts?
How many players who've gotten the big money have really been good over the length of the contract?
There's 2 players I would give the money to in baseball. If I had the money, is Betts and Trout.
Yeah, Trout is.
Betts and Trout, because they're always going to have good years. They do everything well.
Yeah, if Trout had some career-ending injury right now, he's already a Hall of Fame player. I mean, he's put up so many statistics in a short career that he literally meets Hall of Fame standards.
But Ron, they're baseball players. I mean, both of those guys, they do everything well. Now, you look at a guy like Stanton for the Yankees, right? So I watch him play, and I say to myself, how is someone like him even though he hit all those homers last year, he's got the power, he's like a 260, 270 hitter, doesn't hit in the clutch. It's the first time he's been in the playoffs.
Well, Betts helped create 2 runs last night by going first to third on that little single.
You have Betts, you know you're going to have one of the top 5 players in all of baseball every year for the next 10 years. You know you're going to, unless he gets injured. You have Trout. I don't know how old Trout is.
He's like 26. He's not old.
So he's 26. So you know for the next 6 or 7 years, you have one of the top 5 players in baseball with both of them.
Right.
You don't know that when maybe Judge.
And the only
Judge.
The only knock on Trout, which is not a knock, is he doesn't have a big personality. He just goes out and plays outstanding baseball day after day.
But Betts is great.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Patriots are back at the top of the AFC East. Big deal. They haven't really beaten anybody good. I don't know where they are as a team. You know, they have Edelman back. That's going to make a difference. But they're going to face the high-flying Kansas City Chiefs next week. And it's hard for Patriots fans to feel very confident, especially when the Colts had about 2,000 yards in the second half. And the Patriots kind of got lucky in a way. Brady threw one up there, and Gordon made a terrific play to get it, Moss-like.
Yeah, but how about the 2 balls that went through the receiver's hands for interceptions?
Well, there were not only the
And Edelman's
Hogan
drop.
and Edelman couldn't have been any more wide open.
You're talking about they make those 2 catches, they're down. You're talking about Brady throwing for about 400 yards and Edelman catching it, throwing for 400 yards and maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns. Instead, 3 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, the Edelman play design was brilliant in that now you can set illegal picks as long as you're within a yard of the. So Edelman's going in motion and Gronk levels the defensive back. So Edelman, there probably wasn't anybody around him for 6 or 7 yards, and somehow he maybe lost it in the lights, or maybe a cumulative number of hits on him are making him susceptible to drops. I don't know. You
know, the funny thing is you look at the Patriots and you say, all they have in the backfield is Michelle and White. If one of those guys gets hurt, they're going to be in big time trouble.
I know, and White handles the ball a lot. Michelle, now I'm going to say a name, and I'm not saying that he's going to be a quarter as good as him, but it reminds me of him, is Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders would go 1, 2, 20. Every run wasn't 5 or 6 yards for him. He got stopped a lot at the line of scrimmage, but when he got by people and he got in the open, I think Michelle, if he can get past that initial tackler, which he's not great at breaking tackles, but when he does, he's tough. Yeah,
I mean, the offensive line's been playing pretty good, but those 2 guys have to stay healthy. They may get Burkhead back at the end of the year. He may be. They can get him back after the 12th game or something. So hopefully he's healthy enough to play then.
Well, Bentley, they said, has a torn bicep, so I'm presuming he's out for the year. Just remember the Ted Johnson injury. He had 2 of those. And then, the offensive line's been pretty good. Brady hasn't been
very good.
Brady hasn't been taking a big beating, but as they showed during the game the other night, Brady's unloading the ball within 2 seconds a lot of the time, so the other team just doesn't have time to get there.
I think against Kansas City, the Pats are going to win, and they're going to score. They're going to have, even though they've scored in the 30s the last 2 games, I think they're going to score in the upper 30s, low 40s against Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City, I believe, is last in yards allowed defensively. But their offense is so strong. There was an article today about Kelsey comparing himself to Gronk, and he's saying, I'm not like Gronk because Gronk just runs through people. I don't do that. He says, I try to avoid taking all the punishment.
He's good.
Yeah, he's really good.
You got to think the Pats are going to play a zone against them, Kansas City, and they're going to play that bend but don't break. But they've been doing that, and they've been breaking a lot.
Yeah.
So in Kansas City, with all that talent, I don't know. Maybe they may go man-to-man at times, but the problem with that, the Pats, they blitz one time last game, and Chung gets in there and sacks the quarterback, right?
Well, Mahomes is really terrific. I mean, he's mobile. He can throw off the run.
But I think they should blitz him more.
Well, we'll see. The Patriots still, they get more accomplished as far as points scored or allowed than they do in production. So I looked it up. The Patriots are 19th in total offense, but 7th in points scored. And they're 18th in total defense, but 9th in points allowed. So as you said, the bend but not break. So Belichick, that's his thing. Just don't give up the big play, which of course Kansas City can generate that with the tremendous team speed they have.
But if they come out and play a real good game against Kansas City and win that game, they may go 13-3 again.
Yeah, then we'll all be ridiculously excited.
Because if they're playing good ball, if the offense is healthy and the defense improves some every week, they'll beat teams like Green Bay and Minnesota at home.
Now,
Those teams aren't great teams.
if you had to make a bet on whether Gordon will survive the season as far as negative drug testing, do you think he'll make it or he won't make it?
Well, if they gave me $1,000 and they said bet that he makes it or doesn't make it, I would bet he makes it. If they gave me $1,000 to bet.
But if it were your 1,000. Anyway, I mean, my guess is they're probably drug testing him every day. I mean, I would have that written in his contract. You're going to be drug tested every single day.
He seems to love Brady. He's right next to him too in the locker room.
Yeah. So there's a lot of money on the table for the guy. I mean, I think his contract extends through next season.
And you don't think his agent's talking to him and his family's talking to him? Guys go to the Super Bowl. You're one of the stars on the team. You can get whatever you want after that.
You'd hope. I mean, addiction's a disease for these people, and it's.
But isn't it mostly marijuana and drinking?
Yeah, I think it's been
Mostly marijuana.
Right. Well, and it'll be interesting to see if the NFL changes their standards over time. With cannabidiol is going to have legitimate medical uses. Ricky Williams had an interesting interview with Bill Simmons in the off season, and he said he could have played for years if he could have continued to smoke marijuana because it helped him with his pain control. And he said the NFL's attitude was, well, just take Vicodin or Percocet, don't worry about it, but no marijuana.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that Vicodin and Percocet have no risks. Obviously, the opioid crisis is severe.
I'll tell you a quick story. I got hit in the kidney with a pitch, right? I got a prescription for Vicodin, so I'm not supposed to drive. So I took one in the morning. I went to work, and two of the girls in the office they go to me, what the heck's wrong with you? I didn't even know it affected me. I went home and I threw the rest of them away. I took one Vicodin. I haven't taken a Percocet.
Yeah, everybody has a different pain threshold. Some people, especially regarding orthopedic surgery, have tremendous pain medication requirements, and other people don't. And I have no explanation for it at all. I know that there've been studies that there are different tendencies for pain medicine requirements by race, et cetera, by ethnic background, but in the individual patient, you never know. But obviously, we don't want impaired drivers or impaired football players. I remember playing a high school basketball game, and one of the players on my team was impaired during the game, and from drinking. Mm-hmm. And the coach just said, "What's the matter with you?" And we all knew, but we didn't say anything. And nowadays, I believe it's a 4-game suspension, at least for basketball. I don't know what it is for other sports. But one of the good things about being a youth coach is you tell the kids this is, it's really bad for your health. It's illegal, and it impairs cognition for 3 to 5 days after binge drinking. So you're affecting your school, you're affecting your teammates, and you're affecting your own play. So ultimately, the responsibility lies with the individual. But
of course,
and it's a challenge for a lot of young people and older people to deal with the alcohol and drug issues. As far as contract incentives, the Patriots have a lot of people on incentive-based contracts, the so-called not likely to be earned, which I think, for example, Brady's got to end up in the top 5 in yardage and completion percentage and things that are probably not going to be able to be achieved. The Patriots are almost in salary cap jail right now. They're at $1.66 million left for the rest of the season. Now, obviously, they could make moves. Like, for example, the most obvious move would be Dwayne Allen, who's still making something like 3.6.
Is that before the 8 game?
No, I think that.
If you cut him after the 8 game?
Well, I think it's prorated for the amount of his salary. But the Patriots really, if you say, well, why don't they get this guy or that guy? They just don't have any money left, which is unusual for them. Usually they have a lot of room against the cap.
Well, they had 6.9 at one time. Where did that go during the season?
I don't know if they did it. Well, obviously they did some contract extensions with Mason, and I know there were some injury grievances. Britt has an injury grievance against the team, and I think there was another receiver who had an injury grievance. So the Patriots are in trouble if they have many more injuries and they need to get anybody from off the free agent list because they just can't afford to pay much.
That's weird because they got Brady at $16 million.
Right. Well, I think their middle class is really where the money goes. They have a lot of players in the middle class that are making pretty good earnings. The one move they made this week was Cyrus Jones, who was brought back to do punt returns, is gone now that Edelman's back. I mean, they're really relying heavily on Edelman because he has a lot of functions. And what we're seeing with special teams, the Patriots are down near the bottom in kickoff returns and coverage. Now, the Patriots, after they learned with the new rules that it makes sense just to kick it through the end zone because those short kicks aren't covered anymore because the guys don't get a running start, and they're right up within 1 yard of the 35 on the kickoff.
Who do you think is the most overrated player on the Patriots? You'll come right out with it.
Hightower.
I'm thinking more McCourty, Devin McCourty.
Oh.
$10 million a year.
Well, his brother's been playing.
His brother's playing
okay.
better than him. But Devin McCourty, if they didn't blow to Richards, if they got a better safety than Richards when they got Richards in the second round, pick someone better than him, McCourty would be gone now. He's just about useless out there.
Yeah, you're right. He hasn't been very productive, but Hightower hasn't been very productive either.
Well, he's playing in the middle. No, he hasn't been the Hightower. 2 games ago, he played his best game, but.
So, Van Noy's been very good this season.
Very good.
So it's always about keeping guys healthy at this point. And the other player who seems to have managed to recover his form is Gostkowski. I mean, he looks solid out there now.
Yeah. No, I mean, they could be the same team they've been the last few years. Right. They really could be.
Well, we always have recency bias when we're looking at the Patriots because we say, well, this is how they look lately, so that we're going to project that they're going to look like that every week. Now, if Kansas City comes out and beats them 42-20, which could happen, then we'll be back to, well, they're not fast enough, they're not young enough, and
It's just about every year we say, if they can win this next game, whoever they're playing during the season, they'll take off. Well, it's going to be Sunday, because I really believe that that's going to be their best game, and I think they're going to take off from that game. I don't think they're going to let Kansas City come in and dominate them. I think they're going to be sky high for the game. The offense will be playing good. Hopefully the defense plays well enough to keep them in the 20s. Yeah, I think the Patriots are going to score in the upper 30s or 40 in that game.
Well, what's worrisome is they haven't been able to contain tight ends, and Kansas City has a dynamic tight end in Travis Kelce. Now,
well, Chung will be on.
I was going to say, Chung has been extremely reliable since he made his second appearance with the Patriots, and hopefully he can stay healthy. Kelce's basically a Gronk-sized guy who can run.
But know what I'm worried about? The one area I'm worried about is that I think Belichick and McDaniels are going to say, okay, the longer we keep the ball, the less Kansas City will have it. I don't want them thinking that way. I want them thinking we're going to take it to Kansas
Attack.
City and go after them, because Kansas City's going to go after them. Don't play that, that type of game where you want to eat up 8 minutes on a drive or whatever.
Right.
Because the running game's going to get you in trouble, I'm telling you.
Well, get you back to that New York Giants philosophy when they beat Buffalo. They just grounded out. They may not have been necessarily the superior team, but they had possession and they held Buffalo down when Buffalo was explosive with Jim Kelly.
But I think the Pats got to get their passing game going. I don't even care if they run the ball once. I don't care if they throw the ball 30 times in a row, spread 5 out, put Brady in a shotgun, get the defensive line tired. The longer they're out there, pick them apart. You have all those receivers, the backs. And then once you get them a little tired, then run the ball.
Well, the Colts still threw for a lot of yards. They didn't have T.Y. Hilton. They lost several players during the game. Michelle is probably as guilty as anybody of the lowering the head and crashing into people. He knocked 2 guys out of the game. So when people say he was not tough, I think he's tough enough. It's just I don't think he's great at breaking tackles at the line.
Can that defense shock the league Sunday? Can people say after that game, as the defense played unbelievably? I hope that's the case. I just hope they play great defense and the Pats take it to them. They win that game, they're going to end up 12-4, the worst.
As far as who would you say are the surprise underachievers so far? I mean, it's easy to say the Rams have been terrific. The Bears have been very good. The Bears' defense is phenomenal. Yeah, Philadelphia's not been very good, and Denver's also.
Yeah, what happened to them?
I don't think they have a quarterback. So, but the East should be interesting still because we're going to see Darnold for the Jets and Allen for the Bills. So, over time, those teams are going to get better.
Do you know what game you're going to next? Patriot game?
What game?
Your sister call you yet?
I got to one game. No.
I'm going to the Minnesota game. My brother-in-law has tickets on the 35-yard line, 7 rows up.
That's great. So, I mean, obviously the Vikings, been playing okay, and I'm not sure really what the deal is with the Eagles. Whether it's just that Wentz isn't really fully healthy, or it's. After
you want to know what it comes down to?
You win a Super Bowl, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Celtics.
It's funny, any team that plays the Patriots,
right.
the next season they're not as good, like in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were talking about that this weekend, that the teams that the Patriots have beaten this year, the next week they've all lost. Because whether the Patriots are physical or the preparation takes a lot out of them, who knows. But there seems to be a hangover for teams after they play the Patriots. We'll be right back. We thought we'd change gears and address the local sports scene a little bit. We're fortunate to have some, but not all, of the records of the teams available. So far, there's 3 teams that have winning records in the fall, led by football at 3-2, volleyball at 8-3, and golf is at 6-2-1. Now, it's not saying that your team isn't important if they're not having a winning record, but there's always a process of building or rebuilding for a lot of different sports. And football obviously suffered some losses to graduation and transfer, and there's a lot of other teams that are really good. Obviously, last week they got beat pretty good by Stoneham.
Yeah, Stoneham was really up for that game. I read an article. Players said we're sick of Melrose beating us. And they do have a lot of talent. They were undefeated, I believe, going into that game.
I think the Globe has them ranked 19th. So
a lot of talent.
So they're good. The boys soccer team is at 3-4-3, and they had a big win last week against Winchester, which is a top 20 team. And Dean Serino's team's been good through the years. Last year they were in the sectional finals against Watertown, who's a real superpower in their division. Girls soccer has had a couple wins this season. They have a lot of good athletes, but there's a lot of really strong programs in the Middlesex League, especially in the Liberty division. Winchester, Lexington, and Belmont are perennial powers, and in the Freedom division, Stoneham and Wilmington are also always really strong. So the soccer program is trying to build something, and hopefully they're going to be able to turn it around. Girls swimming has had great culture through the years, and they're 3 and 4, which is pretty competitive for them. I know that I've always heard that the whole environment around the swimming team is one where everybody's happy, and it's really a wonderful culture there.
Yeah, and the field hockey team has 2 wins and 1 tie.
Right. I don't think they've done that for a few years.
Well, you know what you're doing too when you talk about field hockey. I mean, you're losing a lot of players to volleyball, and volleyball has been one of the best programs in the state. Soccer, they have to be good athletes. Just playing the Middlesex League, one of the top leagues in the state in soccer. So, and then you have the field hockey where you have some talent, but you go up against the Watertowns and Winchester. How does Winchester get so strong? So when you're talking about those fall sports, I mean, it seems like all these fall sports teams are good, the girls.
Well, Winchester has been a powerhouse in soccer for many years.
And then you got volleyball.
And their volleyball team, they took a very different approach than some of the other developing programs. So Woburn and Winchester both brought in college coaches to give clinics and to train the players.
In what?
In volleyball.
In volleyball?
So, I give them credit. They spared no expense. They got the good training, and Melrose playing Winchester today. Melrose took the first set 25-18, but by no means was the match assured. Both teams came in at 8-2 in the league. So Winchester's really made great strides, and they have a lot of terrific athletes in Winchester. And obviously it's a wealthy community, and the wealthier the community, the more that parents can invest in the athletic programs.
Yeah, but you have all 3 teams. You got the field hockey team's good, soccer team's good, and the volleyball team's good. Usually it's kind of tough because...
Right, there's only so many athletes. For example, Watertown's had an elite field hockey team for more than a dozen years.
Volleyball.
But they're not good at other sports.
But the Middlesex League is a lot better now than it was when our daughters played.
Right. There's a lot more opportunities for kids to play off-season sports at a high level with a number of different, whether you call it Junior Olympic or AAU or whatever. But there's a lot of off-season volleyball programs, and they're pricey. Some of them, especially for the travel programs, can cost over $3,000 per child per year, and that's a lot of scratch for parents to put up, especially if you have more than one child.
Yeah,
playing.
then you have child playing 3 sports. It's tough for them to.
Right.
I mean, they can do it. I mean, when you're playing during basketball, you can play volleyball on the weekends.
Right.
And same thing when you're playing volleyball.
And obviously there are user fees that people pay for each sport that their child participates in. I saw an interesting article online. It was talking about a player was complaining about not playing that much in basketball, and she was complaining to the parent, and the father said, "How much time did you work on your athleticism? I don't see you practicing. When I've watched you practice at your school practices, I don't think you're playing that hard." So the parent kind of threw it back on the youngster, which is tough too, because you want to be as supportive as you can for your youngster.
But like what I said last show, I really believe, and you know how competitive I am, but I really believe if you're playing varsity, you should get in every single game. If you made the varsity team, basketball, volleyball. Volleyball is a little different than basketball because Coach Kelly's carrying a lot more players than he used to. He used to carry 10 or 11. Now he's carrying some, I guess, up to 14 in
I
volleyball.
think they have 13 on the team right now, and then there's a few players they rotate up from junior varsity to practice with too.
But if you're on a varsity, you should get in every game. If you're going to practice every day and working hard, and like I say, basketball, you don't want to carry 14 players. You want to carry 11 and bring players up. If they're performing well in the JVs, let them play a little. But every player's got to know they're going to get in the game. I mean, for their mindset, I mean, and they're working and they're on that team. You know, I mean, look, middle school's different, but we always, I mean, look at you. I mean, there can be no one more even-minded than you. I mean, you play everybody too much at two, you know, you care too much about the kids where they got to play equal minutes.
In a developmental program, I think everybody should play similar amounts of playtime. Is that unfair? It is unfair to the players who are either the hardest workers or maybe the best players, because it would be right for them to say, you know, I think I should be playing all the time, and I totally understand that. But I also know that there are a lot of players who, at a younger age, may have a chance to develop if they get the playing time and they work really hard at practice. So there's no easy answer to that. But especially, you know, and it wouldn't make a difference even if the kids could somehow play for free. As when we were kids, you know, you didn't have to pay to play sports. It's still important to get everybody an opportunity. The volleyball team is interesting. Usually they make changes as the season goes on, as players get stronger or somebody might move up in the depth chart. But this year, they're still experimenting with the lineup and the rotation. And that's because, you know, they've scuffled a little. They lost 3 out of 4 against really good teams, including Frontier. That was a really good team from Western Mass, Deerfield, that came out. And as you said, the Middlesex League's gotten a lot better, and in the long run, it's better for everybody if you have better competition during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Coach Jelly, he's always going to have good teams, you know, depending on the talent, how good. But you also need leaders. Last year, you had a couple of, well, 2 or 3 leaders that were seniors.
Right.
And it made the younger girls better players.
Right, and they have no seniors this year.
No seniors, and, you know, someone's got to be a leader, and then you got, you know, your back row is pretty good. Your front row, you don't have that one leader to bring along the other girls, so they're going to have to learn on their own. I mean, they're going to have to get better. They're going to have to become leaders, and hopefully they get that experience. And as usually Chelly's teams, as the year goes on, they get better and better. But they're playing some talent at the end of the year.
Well, the Celtics start, I think it's a week from tonight, and it's a long time between the 4 exhibition games, which were really disappointing.
Shockingly disappointing.
Yeah, the Celtic. The first thing you can say is, well, we know that Kyrie Irving announced at the open practice that he intends to re-sign with the Celtics, which is a big deal because when healthy, he's a really terrific player. Hayward is gonna, you know, his recovery from his injury is going to take a lot more time. He's just not ready to play at a high level right now, and anybody who thinks he is just going to be mistaken. And it's not surprising. I mean, he had a terrible injury, and the integration of his physical and his mental well-being after that injury is going to take more time. He's not really, in the preseason, he didn't do anything well.
Who would you, out of the players from last year that played a lot, like there were 8 players that played a lot,
right?
Who do you think, you know he's going to get upset, right, but who's the one player that you would say, hey, he's not going to get the minutes he got last year? The one player in that team.
Well, it's probably Rozier. Brown is going to suffer a little too, but
Morris.
Oh, well, yeah, Morris is...
Morris, his game is scoring, okay?
Right.
His game is shooting. He's not as good defensively as people think he is, you know, and he doesn't pass. He gets the ball. He's a one-on-one player. Rozier's a one-on-one player when he gets the ball.
Well, what I always figure is that there's going to be a lot more injuries or flu or pneumonia or some stupid thing, so that people are going to get unexpected minutes. You know, Horford's had a few concussions over the years, so you know he'll miss time with a concussion now and then. So somehow these things always work themselves out.
But the one player you have to disappoint is Morris. He's going to be good at times, because he can hit
Right.
that three-pointer when he's open. But he's not a true team player on the offensive end. And what Stevens did with his team last year, he let them play one-on-one a lot. Rozier's got the ball, he's dribbling until he either had a shot or he got double-teamed, he had to pass it. Smart one-on-one a lot. You had Tatum one-on-one a lot, Brown one-on-one a lot. I think he's got to run more plays, not sets, plays.
Right. Well, in the preseason, it looked like they were trying to score more in transition. Last year, they were one of the lower half teams scoring in transition. So I think that'll be interesting. There's certainly a lot of hype around Tatum, who really flourished, but he's not going to see the ball at times because of Irving and Hayward. So you can only have so many ball-centric players. So it'll be interesting to see. Pat Riley described the two phases of team play. First was the innocent climb. You get better, nobody's got too big a head, and then finally you get close to the top and you see what he referred to as the disease of me, when it's about my touches, my shots, my minutes, my money. And that's always a challenge in the NBA.
Tatum's my favorite player, but when the Celtics make the deal with New Orleans to get Davis, which they're going to do, that's going to be the deal. And I love
So you think
Tatum.
Tatum's going for Davis?
No, it's going to be Horford, Tatum, and the Sacramento pick. They shouldn't give Rozier in that deal, because Rozier's going to be the guy. You're going to need Rozier in the backcourt, and then you're going to move Brown up to the 3 and play Hayward at the 4. And it'll be Davis, Hayward, Brown, and you're going to have Kyrie with Rozier and Smart at the guard position, and then whoever else they bring in. But, that's the only way they're going to get Davis, and without having to give up. Because if they give Brown up with Horford, it's going to have to be Horford, Brown, Rozier, in the Sacramento pick.
Well,
And I would definitely, I love Tatum, but Davis in another year is going to be the second best player in basketball behind Durant.
yeah, Davis is phenomenal.
And he's going to have about 8 years from now to be one of the top 2 players in basketball. And on top of it, you have Kyrie
How
Hayward.
old is he? About like 24?
He's 26,
Oh,
25 or 26.
Wow.
But that's my prediction.
Okay.
If you have to give Tatum up, if you're not going to lose Rozier, and then you can sign Rozier too, then I would give Horford, Tatum, and the Sacramento pick for Davis, and someone else who they have on the bench.
Well, that'll be interesting. The player whom I think is really important, although underrated, is Baines. Because I think
Thank God they signed him.
Baines can really bang. He's not only tall, he's wide and he's fearless.
But one thing he's got to do, and Stevens has got to tell him, I never, ever, ever want to see you shoot a hook shot. You're never to shoot a hook shot. You're never to low post anybody. Pick and roll is one thing when he's sliding to the basket, but don't go down on the block, demand the ball, and shoot up a stupid hook. I'd rather see him take 10 3-pointers.
Yeah, if you go online, you can look up scoring by all different points per possession by type of play. So, for example, there would be scoring off a pass off a cut is the highest, something like 1.2 points per possession. Isolation is among the lowest because most players are not great in isolation. The leading points per possession player, I think, was James, the guy on Houston.
Oh, Harden?
Harden was, I think, 1.16. So, obviously, but if you want to play with Harden's like Kobe Bryant, he dribbles the air out of the ball and then takes it to the basket.
But look at Philly with Embiid down low with Baines on him.
Oh, yeah.
He hates Baines. Baines' body positions himself well. You know what Baines reminds me of at times? It's Perkins on defense. He's solid down low. He moves his feet well.
I think he had one of the top points defensive rating. They look at a defensive rating by points allowed per 100 possessions, and his is something like 85, which is phenomenal in today's NBA.
No, that was a big signing.
Right. And I mean, he likes it here. We were in Boston one day. We were meeting Karen's fiance's parents, and Karen said, "Oh, we just saw Aaron Baines and his wife and their little kid." And I said, "Are you sure it's Baines?" She said, "Are you kidding me? Nobody else looks like him." So,
Well, he's getting 11 million over 2 years. He's happy.
Right. He loves it up here, and
He's on a good team.
the Celtics have the new practice facility, which I haven't seen, but it sounds like everybody loves it, over in Brighton.
I'll be going to the first game. That'll be fun against Philly.
Rozier is really a key, because you do wonder, will Smart get moved? Because Smart has a low enough salary, $13 million a year, that they could include him for salary balancing purposes somewhere along the line.
But the thing with Rozier is they don't need him. I mean, you want him to score when he's hot. I mean, he can hit like 3 threes in a row, whatever, pull up. You like that part of the game, but as a point guard, he's got to distribute the ball. And he's thinking scoring before he's thinking passing. And when you're playing with Tatum and Brown, but the one thing is, with Hayward in there, he's gonna be the guy that runs the offense in the half court. He handles the ball well, smart, penetrates, can kick. He's gonna really open up the game for those guys.
Watching some of the preseason games, I thought they were shooting too many threes. Well, especially when they weren't making any threes. They were shooting in the mid-40s threes, and that's when you're making less than 25%, you just can't be taking that many threes.
Well, if they're going to win the 66 games I predicted, they've got to become a great defensive team.
Well, I think they're going to get off to a slow start this year. And it's a long season. We shouldn't get too excited if they don't come off blazing hot, but I'm kind of worried about Hayward.
I'll take 18-2 like last year, was it? Or 16-2?
I don't think it's going to be 18-2 again, but anyway, I'm really looking forward to the basketball season starting. I've enjoyed being with you. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.